Hello and welcome to a presentation on how to use EasyMorph, which is a data extraction tool. It does quite a bit of different things, but I'm going to demonstrate how to integrate ChatGPT and make it basically replicate what is typically done within the ChatGPT page when you type in a prompt such as this. This is a video that I was watching on YouTube that shows how to generate a data set with specific columns, and you can give it specific information about the sales pricing and tell it what type of retail store it is, and you'll get a data set. So I looked at this and I recently found out that EasyMorph allows you to do the same thing if you can plug in your ChatGPT API key in an example that I've already done, but I'm going to walk you through this process of how you might do this in ChatGPT and EasyMorph. Now, the thing about EasyMorph is that it doesn't natively consume the response that is given by ChatGPT, such as this. ChatGPT is capable of generating an Excel file or a CSV file, for instance, if you tell it that you want that output. However, that information that can't be imported in directly or natively into EasyMorph. So EasyMorph is this tool here that you can get more information about if you want. Basically, there's a documentation page on how to use this tool, and there's plenty of information on how to use it. But right now, I'm just going to demonstrate how you can go about consuming this information. So in these several steps here that I have basically replicated the same exact thing. Well, I've tweaked it a little bit from the video. This is the original prompt, and this is the prompt that I have. So instead of generating a data set of 100 rows, I'm generating a data set of 50 rows, and I'm giving it these column names, which are pretty much consistent with what you see here. I think I added one in the product category column, and the way I'm having to do it here is I'm using these curly braces because EasyMorph needs to do this using parameters. And I had to populate these in this way, putting in the information for the column, for each column. And this is how this is done using EasyMorph. However, the difference is when you tell it, and I've also given it specific information on that it needs to be consumed using the JSON format. Because, again, it's going to pull in this information in a non-native, it won't pull it in as a CSV. So you can tell it to pull it in as a JSON, and that's how EasyMorph is able to pull in information. However, it's not going to be clean JSON. It's going to have, you're going to have to format it. But the first thing you must do is be able to pull it in. So the first step, I'm giving it a little system prompt here, a helpful generator, and before I can even do that, I have to make sure this connector is set up. Now, the one thing you must do first is when you can see here that I have already set this up. This is not going to be here when you first start it. So what you're going to have to do is go here and add a new one, and you can give it the name EasyMorph or anything else. EasyMorph 2. I'm just giving that as a name. And this is going to be most likely the model that you're going to use. And then what you're going to do is you're going to, wherever your ChatGPT key, API key is, you're going to pull that in, and it's going to allow you to paste that and then hit OK. And then that's how you would add it. And you can test it first, by the way. I'm not going to test this because this is a made up one, but this is a kind of a dummy demo just to illustrate how that works. So I'm going to remove that because I don't need it. This is just for illustration purposes. But once you have this connector set up, you're able to call this information using the API connector. Then you go to step 2, which is the keep. This is what's going to get generated by default as a response. So I'm going to go through this slowly and walk it through, because if I try to run it all at one step, it'll go through them all, but what you will miss out on all the different steps. Each step is critical here. So I'm going through step 1 and 2. With EasyMorph, you're allowed to run things, on an isolated basis, or you can run everything all at once. And you can see here that it ran, and we're on step 1 right now. The first thing it did, it pulled this in. Now, this is what I meant before about pulling in JSON data. This is not clean enough to use as it is. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to parse this. Now, fortunately, we have something called, and the funny thing is it pulls in extra steps here that don't always need to be done. So what I'll do is I'll pull those out. I'll pull that out. And this is the regex function. This is step 3. Step 3, the way I do this, I have to add. I'm going to just kind of illustrate how I'm doing this. I'm using the calculate as an action. And you can see that this is the one that pops up. So what I did in this step here is I did exactly what I just showed. And then it gives you the option to name a column name. I'm calling this column the JSON column. Now, it needs to have a regex function that's going to parse out the JSON data that I'm looking for. And this is the regex function here. It's regex match, which is, a regex match function you're accustomed to seeing. Normally in another language like JavaScript, it would be like this. Okay? So then you would have the string, and then you would have the regex. That's the way it normally would show up. But in EasyMorph, they just have something called regex match as their function. And there's other regex functions as well, like is regex match, and regex replace. So this is the one we're looking for. And the completion column is the column that we're going to use. And so this is easy to pull in. Basically, you click it once and it'll populate in. And then all of this is the regex that you see. So it's pulling in the data and parsing what needs to get parsed out. Now, after you get to this step, and I'm going to hit run, you see how it runs it. And then the next step after that, the only column that I care about keeping is this column, the JSON column. You can see that it's pulled in the JSON data that I need. Now, the next step that I need to do is I need to filter. Actually, I don't need to do that. This is the result. I have to do a parse JSON objects step. So this is pretty easy to do. I mean, this is a native function inside of EasyMorph that allows you to parse any JSON that you have put in. If I didn't have this, I would type parse JSON, and you see it pull up here, and then when you select it, it'll give you the option to populate, or it's going to do this by default. It's going to actually identify the column that we're looking, that the only column that we wanted to keep, and then it gives you the option you can select specific properties, or you can consume all of the properties in that JSON root. And when you do that, it pulls in all of these columns as relative based on what you defined up here, because the parameters were defined and the columns were defined, so it knows to pull them all in. So this is 50. Now this isn't done yet, because then the next step I want to do is I want to be fancy, and I want to select products purchased that have the word tennis in them. Okay. Now that function is a filter by condition. You have the ability to filter multiple different ways in EasyMorph, and this is just something that you can read up on in the documentation, but there's like 4 different types of filtering processes that you could take, where you can select or keep certain things that show up, filter by search, filter by condition, filter where you just remove or keep things that are basically there or not, or you can filter by type, where you can remove things by the values, the data types. Okay, so I picked this particular version, the filter by condition, which is not necessarily the most popular one, but it's doable. So once I have that, if I want to extract it out as a CSV file, then I can give this a name by creating an export, like you see here. And this is what I did. There's multiple ways to export in EasyMorph, and it allows you to select a delimited file, and I chose to do it that way and define my CSV file, the comma separated files. It gives you the option to export it multiple different ways, however you want, through pipe, semicolon, space, or a custom one that's not present if you don't want to use any of these. And once you get it, you have the option to overwrite. Now, if you want to stop something from overwriting, you could choose this. But if you want to continuously keep running this, you're able to do it this way. But I'm going to remove this. Okay, I'm going to remove this particular step because I want to extract everything. And when I run this, guess what's going to happen? Boom. Okay, so then the next thing. Okay, so this is the open result of that extract, and you can see all of the different records and everything. So I hope this has been very informative. This is a very powerful application because it can do way more than just what I've shown, but it allows you to interface with ChatGPT. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.